Honestly, the way I look starting out this video, I feel like it's just a very good reflection of my semester in that it just like very much could have been better.
Tonight we'll see and hear firsthand
this kind of sound. Let's hear the rest of it.
What's up? It's Hannah, and today I'm going to be filming an interesting video because today I am going to be filming a get ready with me video. Who misses me doing those? Today I'm going to be trying to make myself look better for New Year's Eve while also recapping my terrible semester. So yeah, this is gonna be a fun one for me, guys. So starting off recapping my semester while I'm also going to prime my face. I just finished my first semester of sophomore year, and honestly I could not be more glad that it's over. I would definitely say that this semester was my worst semester of college. Now I do just want to put a disclaimer that I'm gonna talk about my school in this video and my sorority in this video. I do not hate either of those things. It's just that this past semester was not the best, and I feel like I can talk to you guys about it because I feel like everybody has hard semesters in college, but like not everybody talks about it because it's not like the most fun subject to talk about. So I'm going to tell you guys today about why this semester sucked, but I'm also going to apply my foundation, which is my favorite foundation of all time. It's the Urban Decay Naked Skin, and this is honestly a travesty. I'm pretty sure they discontinued this and replaced it with garbage. The new foundation, the new Naked Skin foundation, I haven't put it on my face, okay, so I can't judge it that harshly, but I put it on my hand and it's like honestly trash. It is not this. Okay, Urban Decay, I want this back and I don't understand. But anyway, yeah, so first of all, just I guess moving into why the semester was not the most fun for me. So first things first, I am gonna touch really quickly on my breakup. I don't want to stick on this topic for too long because honestly, like, there's other reasons why my semester wasn't that great, but I feel like I have to include it because it was basically the beginning of my semester becoming so far my worst semester of college. Basically, my whole last semester of freshman year, I was in a relationship, and I was like, I don't know, I was pretty chill, I was pretty happy in that relationship, and obviously like I came into sophomore year also being in that relationship, and then very quickly at the beginning of this past semester it ended. Obviously breakups in general are hard to deal with, but I don't think I realized like how difficult it would actually be, and honestly I definitely think that it took me a lot longer than I thought it did to get over it. I mean, the first 2 weeks after the breakup were the worst. And then about like a month after it happened, I was like, oh, like I'm over it, I'm good. I wasn't over it. If I'm being completely real with myself, I would just say that I very recently, I feel like actually finally got over it, and I really don't harbor like any more like resentment. I just didn't see it coming. I don't think I would have been as upset about it as I was if I would have seen it coming, but it was like a complete shock to me. Although now looking back, like I see like a million like red flags that I should have seen. It just wasn't the right relationship, and ultimately it just wasn't gonna work out. I think I knew even when we initially broke up that it was the right thing for us to do, but it still sucked. But I also like don't want to make it sound like that bad of a thing because honestly, ultimately I realized that it was probably the best thing that could have happened. It was for the best for both of us, so I don't look back on it or on him with like bad negative thoughts. Honestly, I just see that as like a period of learning a lot and a lot of growth in my life. Relationships happen, you go through things, you have to go, it's a trial and error process, so it's fine. Moving along to the next section of this video, which I'm just going to title loneliness, because if I'm being completely honest, I felt more lonely and also more lost. But if you guys did not know, I moved into my sorority house this past year, and I really don't want anybody to like come for me and be like, oh, you hate living in the sorority house. I don't hate living in the sorority house. I think it's fun. Is it my favorite living situation of all time? you know, maybe not my favorite living situation of all time, but I don't hate it. And honestly, if you are in a sorority, I would highly recommend living in the house for like at least a semester or a year, because it does teach you a lot of things and it does help you get closer to the girls. So that is one thing about it that I just find to be very positive. One of the largest things about living in a sorority house I've realized is that FOMO is real. And again, like, this has nothing to do with the girls. I love the girls in my sorority, but a lot of the times, like, when everybody in your house is doing something on like a Friday night and you're like staying in, it's like really hard to not get FOMO. Like, when I was living in a dorm and I wouldn't go out, I never really felt that way because you're not like surrounded by the absence of people. But like, it's just so hard to notice when you live in a house full of girls and everybody goes to do things and then you don't. You're like, oh wow, like I'm all alone. I think one of the biggest things that I realized was that I really didn't take the time last year to become as close with a lot of the girls in my sorority as I probably should have. I definitely wish that I would have taken more time to get to know girls that were also in my sorority, because the thing about living in a dorm is like, I feel like it kind of separated me. I would only see some of the girls in my sorority my freshman year, like during chapter, like when I went to the house for dinner and chapter, and that was literally it. And now I live with them and I see them all the time, but I feel like because I didn't take all of that time to get to know the girls in my sorority in my freshman year, now it's like I have to play catch up. And also a lot of the friendship dynamics that I had my freshman year have definitely changed. Like, that's something that I realized, like some of the people that I was super close with in my freshman year, I'm just not super close with anymore. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, friendships change, things kind of shift. And so ultimately, all of that together, the breakup and all that kind of stuff, the loneliness and just like everything shifting, like that just made me feel so lost. But also, I think it's important to realize that I am so happy that I joined a sorority and that I'm getting to live in the house. It's just kind of been like a learning experience for me and a changing experience for me. But yeah, that was kind of rough. I would like call my sister all the time and be like, Sarah, I literally don't know what I'm doing with my life anymore. Now I'm gonna go ahead and fill in my eyebrows with this Too Faced palette with the shade Sexpresso. This is honestly like the best shade I've ever found. If you have black hair or you dye your hair black, highly recommend this color. Do you just see the difference that made? Like one eyebrow, other eyebrow. Oh, not to go onto boy problems too much in this video, because honestly boys are not the most important part of college, but I got ghosted for the first time this year, like legit ghosted. But honestly, like I said, again, just a learning experience and one of those things where you're like, oh, this actually happens to people. Because like I knew that it happened, obviously, because I've heard people talk about it, but then it happens to you and you're like, hey, that kind of sucked, but you know, I always try to find the positive in everything. I feel like I've very much become an optimist in my elder years. I'm not old. I'm literally 19. I'm gonna use the Carly Bible BH Cosmetics palette. I like this palette, you know, I just don't use it that often, so I feel like I should get some use out of it. But with all of the changes that came this past year, it really just kind of sparked my anxiety again. And if you guys did not know, I do have anxiety. I've never talked about it on the channel, honestly, for kind of like a multitude of reasons, because one, I never really had like a clinical diagnosis before, even though like I knew that I had it because I could just tell through the way that I reacted to things. And also my dad has anxiety and his dad has anxiety, like my grandfather and my grandfather's father had anxiety, so like it runs in the family. It's like a genetic thing. Coming into college, I was very worried this year, honestly, because I had such a bad summer dealing with anxiety and stuff like that, and I was like, oh my god, what if this carries over like into my like college life? Because honestly, my freshman year, I really did not have that bad of anxiety. Like, I felt like I did pretty good, but I think it's because I was focusing on other things. Honestly, at the beginning of the year, it wasn't that bad because I felt like I pretty much had it under control. I felt like I was doing good. And then I went through my breakup and it all kind of came back to me. But literally I went through a period of time where I just wanted to lay on my bed and watch TV, and that was fun. That was a good time. Not really, but you know, I laugh about things because I just don't know how else to cope with them. So there's that. And the thing that sucks about my anxiety is that when I am dealing with anxiety on a daily basis, like, I am not myself. Like, it's not like I'm like a terrible person or anything, but I just become like more irritable and I get really quiet, and I'm already a quiet person, but I get even more quiet and I become very much like a shut-in. Like, I will just sit in my room and do nothing, and I kind of get like this weird, like, if anybody else has anxiety and you get this, let me know because I'm interested. But like, I get like a weird kind of like brain fog. The clarity that I have when I don't have anxiety is not there when I do have anxiety, if that makes sense. And I think that was something this past semester that I really had to deal with, because a lot of times I'll have anxiety and I still have to go, you know, do a lot of things or stuff like that, which I think is a good learning experience, because obviously in life, like, I'm gonna deal with anxiety and I'm gonna have to go do things out in my everyday life. That moves me in to the last part of why this semester was so sucky and why I just really had a mental breakdown in the middle of it, and that would be one class in particular, which was accounting. Now, I know a lot of you guys are gonna hear me say that and be like, Hannah, accounting is not that hard. Look, it's hard for me. The hard thing about accounting for me was that it's literally like having to learn an entirely new language. Like, there's so many vocabulary words and there's so many words that can be like interchanged for things, like words that kind of mean the same thing for other things. And the thing is, like, yes, the equations aren't that hard, but there's so many of them that you have to memorize, and it was just too much for my brain. And honestly, there was a point in the semester where I genuinely thought I was gonna fail accounting. Like, I genuinely thought I was gonna have to just completely hardcore flunk it, have to retake it, and that sounded to me like the worst thing ever. I've always been somebody that's been very defined by the fact that I can do well in school, and so I think it's really hard when part of that image, like, that you take so heavily and so seriously, is kind of like taken away from you. You're like, oh, I'm not that great of a student anymore. Even though it's just one class, it just feels like really hard when you're going through that. But I do think it's a really good lesson, and I think it taught me a really good lesson in, one, the fact that I should take all of my math classes online, but also just the fact that, like, you're not going to be good at everything in life. And I think a lot of people come into college never really having failed at anything, but I think it can really just be kind of a wake-up call when you do, like, fail something for the first time. And I think, like, that was something that was hard for me to deal with this past semester, was just the fact that I felt like I was, like, failing at life because, like, my relationship had failed, and I felt like I was gonna fail this class, and I felt like I was failing at making friendships, and I overall just felt like I was so lost and I just didn't have any direction. But getting back on the subject of my accounting class, I did not end up failing the class. Fun fact. Honestly, overall, like, the semester wasn't awful if you put it into perspective. Like, yes, a lot of worse things could have happened to me, but I think it was just really hard for me because I felt so lost. I think it was even harder because, like, I am a sophomore now, and I was like, well, I should have all of this stuff figured out because I already went through freshman year. Like, I already went through the time period when people are, like, allowed to be confused. But the truth is, like, I'm literally 19 years old. I've come to the conclusion that I'm okay with not knowing, like, what my life is gonna be like in, like, a year or 5 years or 10 years. Like, I'm okay with that. And, like, I think a lot of people in life are not, and they need those kinds of answers. It's just been really eye-opening for me to realize that, like, it's okay to not know what you're doing. But yeah, I really just wanted to make this video to let you guys know that if you've had a bad semester, or you're having a bad year, or even a bad high school semester, college semester, everybody goes through it. It's a normal thing. You're gonna be okay. You'll come out of the other side, and you'll have a fun time again. It may just take a little while to figure everything out, but you'll be okay.